I was quite nar. And time and again, I had to drive home to go and reassure my anxious mother on the things that she's seen on TV. I would get calls from Mamkulu, uncles, and they're like, your nephews and nieces are in protest, because of what we see on TV. And I was quite troubled with how production would respond. And even now, I didn't take it personal, but I think after realizing how this lady who's part of the production and quite high in the production, I called her and I said, I don't like how you guys are projecting me. Molweni, my name is Bongani Kaluvalo, indoda engenavalo. Thank you for joining me on Men 360, a space where we challenge, reimagine masculinity through conversations across generations with all genders. Askete Balalum to thank you for joining us on this episode. Looking for love. I don't think I was there looking for love. I was looking for marriage. I think love and marriage are two distinct things. Marriage is an institution where two people agree to build a family, build wealth, raise kids, and enjoy life together. And for me, I think the question of love is love finds you in the midst of that, through that journey, as long as that institution is built with respect, with compassion, with commitment and intention. That is going to then activate love, because love is not just a question of I'm looking for love. I've been looking for love. I don't know. I think there's a song like that. But yeah, I was not on the show for that. I was really looking for someone who understands that marriage is an institution and we're here to build around politics and the economy, having to raise kids, having to build wealth, and having to enjoy life. But yeah, life has been okay. We're finding the balance post that. It has been a real and a serious roller coaster. But yeah, where am I? I'm unmarried. Yeah, I failed on the task, and we still continue to navigate the streets of life. What stands out and what happened as she was walking? Remember, with the show, you don't get to see your to be wife, walking down the aisle. You are looking away, and the only time you're going to face her is literally 3 steps away. And then, like, bah, there she is. And she's gonna then, extend the hand and ask her to come up or whatever the situation is. And yeah, it was just 3 steps, and there she was, as I turned. And I think I was already going through a lot of things because there was a piece of paper on the podium that the pastor was having, and that piece of paper had each other's name and ID number. So for me, I think I kept on calculating her age. And part of the things I had requested for was a particular age. I think 26 to 31. And really, 31, you must have, you know, serious reasons why we went to 31. Ideally, we ended at 30. And people keep on asking, why that age? I'm 38. And when we were doing the show, I think I was what? 36, turning 37. Yeah, I was 36. So it was just a good 10 years is a good age difference. So I think my mind kept on calculating, and I realized that it was even far way beyond what I had asked for, and I was even thinking and convincing myself, probably it's one of the witnesses, maybe they've written witnesses' name and surname and age, and I was trying to convince myself otherwise. But look, as I turned, I saw her beautiful lady standing next to me. Yeah, and the heartbeat said, "We are here now. It's real, Bafanas. Whatever that you thought you can run away from, or you thought it's a dream, it's not. We're here. She is here. Everyone is here. The cameras are rolling. We're moving with it." So yeah, I think it was a mixture. It was a bag of mixed emotions of not so pleased with the age thing, if that's her age, that I was calculating at that time, and then seeing this beautiful lady, and then there's no turning back, and you're like, okay, do you want to turn away? Do you want to continue? If you thought this is a dream, you can't wake up, it's here, you are living it. Let's go. What was the marriage like? Look, I can tell you one thing. We both enjoy conversations, and one thing we were able to do was to conversate. You know, so definitely we had conversations, whether it's things we disagreed on or things that we agreed on or things we didn't know. We were able to teach each other and converse around those things. So we're quite goofy. We would laugh about things, would have drinks, and I think we spent more time together than having to spend time with other couples. But also I think I would say it became a place that I had said I do not want to go to. Being part of therapy, you ask yourself and analyze the type of relationships you've been into, and you try and identify what is the common thread in them. And as soon as I picked up some of those things, instead of, okay, one, you don't have the option of getting out. But two, because this is your trauma and this is something that you are trying to heal from and move from abandonment, rejection, you then go on default setting. You're conscious that I do not want somebody that I'm going to um who represents the past that I come from, who's going to trigger the past that I come from, somebody who's got issues with their father. I wouldn't want that, I don't want to deal with someone who comes from an abusive relationship and they do not know what therapy is, because if you're going to start having to say to someone, you must go through therapy, and now you guys are not going to fight about the issues, you're going to fight about why why you want to take me to a therapy, what's this therapy thing, so in the midst of that, I think I went on a default setting of wanting to assist this individual. So it was no longer about Ubongani and the things that I said I do not want, but it became a question of, here's another opportunity of being a savior. Because when you live with trauma, some of the things that traumatize you, you tend to make them a project. And I think for some time, it became that thing of, we can go on a healing journey together. But one thing then you don't understand, which becomes a blind side, is that by the end of this journey, um, you might not necessarily have healed together, but you might have added more scars to yourself. I think I used to say to one of my mentors, we agreed that not everyone who becomes a Baragwana hospital will get an opportunity to live with the patients. What do we mean? A person can heal with you in the journey, but at the end of the healing journey, they then realize that actually they didn't heal for this relationship. They are ready for a new, undented, unmarked relationship that has got nothing to do with their past. And you then sit there and wonder, should I sit and go through this journey of having to heal with this individual? And if we're done with this, would they have healed for this relationship, or would they look for something else? So it's a gamble that you'll end up taking. Um, but also, because you came here looking for marriage, you are then consoling yourself with the thing that says, let's walk through these things, because you are fixing them for this marriage that you say you want. She says she wants this marriage, you say you want marriage. So yes, navigate, work around these things. So you end up being an enemy to yourself, because you are injecting yourself with the things that you said you no longer want. And for me, it's one of the things I had to heal from after the show, having to learn to forgive myself for having put Bongani into that space. I I would say I did. Um and it goes back to the point of, is this the pure love, or is it love because there was a project in place? Do I develop feelings for you because you are this project that needs, me to work on? Or was it genuinely falling in love? And look, she's not a bad person. And I'm saying we had good moments. We had disagreements, things that we don't agree on, but we also had good times. We had real conversations, we had good conversations. We disagreed on things and so on. So we're not enemies. But um, yeah, I think long and short of it, In love, yes. Let me not stop. Let me not go left and right. Was I in love? I ultimately fell in love. I was attracted to her. Um, Sexually attracted to her as well. Sexual attraction is very important for me. I think one of the questions I was asked pre-show was it something I think religion or sex compatibility or something like that. I picked sex, and I don't know if people have asked me about it. Why would you pick sex? I'm like, I love sex, so sexual compatibility is very important for me. Yeah, so ultimately I did fall in love, and I was sexually attracted. A lot happened. A lot happened, and some of the things I don't think are things which I would want to share with the public. I think they belong in that relationship. But also, in the midst of trying to explain that, I might also be deemed as somebody who is retaliating, you know? And I don't think I want to be perceived like that because there's nothing to retaliate to. But a lot happened. And in the midst of the things that had happened, one thing I could say to you is there's a difference between character and behavior. And once you understand this is Bongani's character, you ought to ask yourself, am I willing to live with this kind of Bongani? You know, behavior is something else. I could start a new behavior of being drunk on a Sunday and having to be going to work on Monday, you know, and we can talk to that and we can fix that kind of a behavior, you know, give it space, try to understand where it stems from and so on. But with character, nginje, and it's either we accept nginje or you don't. And for me, I think with everything else that happened, I would want to boil it down to the difference between character and behavior. And for me, I had to say, I am not willing to take up um, this type of a character. But also, I think there were many other things that were invoked, which also deal with what I've went through and what I continue to go to therapy for, you know. And at times we take traumas and triggers quite light. So I had to choose a safer space for myself so that I can also try and be a better person. Um, I think when you are able to identify character and the things that are happening here, you must then be able to have foresight of what could be the other things that I'm going to deal with in the future, and am I willing to deal with those things? And for me, it was more of I am not willing to deal with those things. Um, we were together for about 3 to 4 months. So the show is what 6 weeks. It's a month and a half. So we were together for about 3 to 4 months. And I think the relationship would have ended before the show went on air. And I think because of the activities of the show, we and how things went on social media and so on, we then, I checked up and then we end up having to converse about what was happening and so on. I'm okay. We're okay. We do not have a relationship, but I don't think we harbor any bad blood. It ended, and unfortunately, that's where we are. The relationship that has ended. I think I knew her thoughts, but I think the tone was not the same. So, and probably it goes to, sometimes within friends, somebody will say, why didn't you tell this one but told the other one? And the people that were comfortable with, probably she was not comfortable with that rawness that she gave to everyone else. And when she was with me, then for a lack of a better word, maybe it's how she would present her views. So I knew that I'm not tall, dark, and handsome. I knew that, for instance, she knew I've got a child. She asked for somebody who doesn't have a child. So it was a question of I know your spec, you know my spec, and that's where we hold the differences. And we are gonna take a journey of having to explore this relationship, in and outside of these specs that we had given production. So I knew these things, but the rawness and how they were presented and so on, I was also shocked. But also, because this is production and we are four couples, you sort of become a community, and within community there are gossips. And we were sitting with the boys, somebody would say, hey, my wife was saying your wife said 1 2 3, and you come back at home and you ask the question, um ex couple says 1 2 3, is there any truth to that? Should we talk about it? So also there was elements of being blindsided, because and I thought we are having a safe space for us to talk about these things. But now when I'm hearing them from outside and bringing them here, you don't say them. But also the things that you say, because diary sessions, you are not in the room, so it's just myself and the cameras, and you don't come back and say, by the way, I said 1 2 3 during diary session. I don't know how it might land. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think it might land well with you. Those kind of things. So I only had these diary sessions on TV. Right? It left a bitter taste in my mouth. Definitely left a bitter taste in my mouth. But also, it bruised at least the little that I thought we have, as far as trying to build a relationship and probably the common respect, and say, oh, actually, we're not on the same level of respecting each other. That's why then these things can be said in this particular way. But also you come back and say, this is the character that I'm dealing with. This is not behavior, but this is a character. So it did bruise, it did hurt, it did leave one with a bitter taste in the mouth. Um, First, let me start here. By the time we're on episode 3 or 4, um, I was quite nar. And time and again, I had to drive home to go and show my anxious mother on the things that she's seeing on TV. I would get calls from Umakulu, Mamkulu, uncles, and they're like, your nephews and nieces are in protest, um, because of what we're seeing on TV. And they are wondering and troubled that is life that bad that you had to go on TV and be treated in this fashion, while many of us hold you at high regard. And my mother was quite worried, and I was quite troubled with how production would respond. And even now, I didn't take it personal, but I think after realizing how this lady, who's part of the production and quite high in the production, I called her and I said, I don't like how you guys are projecting me. Projecting me as this man who doesn't have a voice, who doesn't know what he wants, and who's just here to receive whatever that you guys can give him. And there are things that have happened that could give a character or a personality to Bongani. Yes, I am a calm and collected individual who uses his mind before going into something. But here, it goes beyond just somebody who is, mentally well spaced or placed to deal with his issues. I'm just that individual doesn't have a voice. People don't know my views. And you guys have heard my views. Your cameras have got my views. But also, we've had these conversations as a couple, and we might be disagreeing on what you guys have given us, but people could learn from how we have taken conflict or not being given what we have asked for, and how we're engaging in those conversations. Production decided we're not going to give South Africans an opportunity to see two adults who were given things that they didn't ask for, but how they're navigating it. Because we were having those real conversation about abantwana, conversations about family, conversations about our parents, and trying to find each other in the midst of those things. And production decided, no, we're not going to do this. And I was telling this lady, this is how I feel. Like, no, we're not trying to put you in like that. You'll see by the time we get to episode 6 or 9. And I said, I have a sense of what you're telling me, but this is what I'm seeing, and this is what my family is seeing. And as I'm driving right now, I'm driving to go and calm my mother because she's upset about these things that she sees here, you know? And I must go and explain to her. And I'm doing this for the second time. So by the time we get to episode 12, how are things going to be, you know? So um at no point in time did production try to help the situation. And these are the people who've got diary sessions. And in them hearing what your partner is saying, this is the material that they could use to assess this relationship. This is what the therapists or the experts in the show are supposed to say. Oh, Bongani is raising 1, 2, 3 as an issue, but we don't think he has spoken to his wife. Let's bring this issue so that we help this relationship become, successful. But the things they will take are negative things. They'll take negative things. Say, hey, Awuvanga, this is what was said about you in the diary session. The question of a six pack, everyone start talking about Bongani. Because these are the things they bring to you. They raise these things, they are negative because they want to trigger you. They want to see how upset you can be and how would you then react to that. But the things that could help a relationship to be fruitious, they were not doing that. What is the idea here? So, which means you are dealing with people who are not in the business of building healthy relationships and marriage, but who are here to say, let's cause as much chaos as we can so that we can have ratings. And this is a classical example of why do you tell me about people who are talking about umkabawami and or me not having a six pack or not having a dark skin? Why are you bringing those instead of talking about real issues that can help the two of us? Why are you bringing only the negative things? So I don't think at any point in time production's business had to do with having to fix relationships. I don't think so. No, I'll never look for love. I'll never look for marriage, or be in a reality show um, that would expose me coming from another production because I've come to understand that part of the game is not caring about the participants at all. So I wouldn't want to say whether it's marriage, whether it's about if I'm not in control of the narrative or I'm not part of the production, I'm not coming because with what I've experienced, I can tell you that production has got no. To them, you are a subject. You are the object that they are using for them to put this thing together and give it to whoever their client is. So I wouldn't subject myself to that. I've been looking for love. Who sings that song?